Hello everybody, the Nameless Narcissist here once again, a simple man diagnosed with MPD, trying to tell you about what goes on in my head, and among other things. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, but remember I'm no clinician, I can only speak to my own experiences. So, how would a narcissist react to getting diagnosed? I'm sorry, the cat is here that I'm cat-sitting, and like, I tried to hold her, and then she like jumped back down, but then like, she keeps rubbing up against me, and I don't know what she wants. This is confusing. It's like relationships. Anyways, so a lot of people I see get very worried about the idea that they are a narcissist or have NPD, which is something really interesting to me because that was not my experience at all. How would you guys react if you guys were told you were a narcissist? I think that's pretty indicative of if you are or not, honestly. When the idea was first proposed, when I was really young, when I was forced into therapy for my anger issues, my response wasn't, oh my god, I can't believe this, I must have hurt so many people. It was, oh, so I really am different than everybody else. Well, different's not the word I used. I think I said something, oh, so that's why everyone else seems so fucking stupid. Because to me, it felt so much easier to navigate social situations and how to just kind of play people, and not play people, but like, to get what I wanted, and like things seem so logical and rational to me in my mind because of my grandiosity. And so I thought, oh yeah, so this explains why I'm better than everybody. There was also a degree of like understanding that, okay, this is why I suffer so much, because even back then I was neurotic as hell. After that, I did kind of go in denial about it for a while, because I accepted it for probably like a couple months, but it was more of like a, yeah, I probably have that, who cares? It didn't even cross my mind of the idea of the people that my NPD would affect. It was more of, oh, it turned more into, it was always in the back of my mind that it was probably a thing, but whenever I thought about it and thought about my actions pertaining to it, it was always more of, okay, what is the correct thing to do here so I don't push people away, because I don't want that. I want my expansive social circles, I want people around me, I want people to like me. It was instrumental to me to be able to manage a lot of my narcissistic behaviors, because I realized that narcissistic behaviors don't really coincide well with the narcissist's goals, if you see what I'm saying. After that, I didn't really start thinking about it again for a long time, because it was just kind of working for me. My life was great. I had a bunch of friends. I had a bunch of women. Well, not a bunch of women, but I had plenty of options, I'll say. I was in college, and I left for basic training, came back, and I've told this story before, so I won't get into details about it. When I got back, I lost a lot of people, and I kind of went into a spiral, my collapse, so to speak. Spent a lot of time alone again. That was the first time I was really forced to kind of look at my childhood in any regard, and it was like eating me alive. And during that time, after my, because it was a collapse, so I tried to, off myself. So after that failed, and one of my few remaining friends were over, I remember being like, oh shit, I have NPD. That's why this is happening. Which is funny, because it's like, oh, it was like a way for me basically to deflect. It's like, oh, I wasn't being a shitty person. Oh, I just have this disease that is making me react this way to the circumstances around me, which is leading to my very intense depressive state. Because like, don't get me wrong, it was genuinely awful, collapse. It was very distressing. And a collapse is something you don't really come back fully after that, I guess you could say. Like, my grandiosity has been permanently damaged since then, hence why I present a lot more borderline-esque now even, just because those defensive structures that were just so solidified up until just kind of broke down, and though I still get grandiose and stuff, it's like, I can't fully believe it, and I'm always looking at it being like, what if, maybe not more borderline presenting, maybe more vulnerable presenting would be a better way to put it. I still believe that covert narcissism vulnerable narcissism and borderline personality disorder are incredibly similar, but there are differences. Especially that kind of defiance, like the attachment styles especially. So after that, once I got a new job and a new apartment, it just kind of redid my life. I kind of went into denial about it again and just kind of forgot about it. And even about my family stuff too that I was looking at during that time. I went back into semi-grandiose state, but I was a lot more careful. I was trying very hard not be domineering or aggressive. That worked about as well as you would expect. Just because, it's in my blood, I guess. And when I wasn't actually looking at how the behaviors were affecting me in an earnest way, I mean, there's only so much healing and growth that you can do when you're approaching it from an angle that isn't honest to yourself. So, went in denial about it for a while longer. And I really completely forgot about it. I went back into a state of, oh my God, why am I, like, eventually I quit my job. I went into a pretty vulnerable state. And I was like, why the fuck am I like this? Why? And I spent so much time. I analyzed, like, because I knew for a fact I had ADHD, and I accepted that one. And I knew for a fact that I probably had some degrees of PTSD from the prison and probably from my childhood, but I didn't even really consider it. I didn't really even consider NPD was like a realistic thing. I was like, I'm not like that. There's no way I'm like that. But I was still working at the prison though when I went back into treatment. It was because I had a girl at the time, and she was. I made some. She was really good to me, and made me look at a lot of my childhood shit, and I really started delving into that around that time. I was still ignoring the narcissist part, but I really did not treat her well, and I was like very distant and kind of manipulative at times, etc. All that classic stuff. I just was not a good partner. I wouldn't say I was abusive per se, but that, where do you draw a line when it comes to emotional abuse? Well, then again, I did kind of cheat on her, like with emotional cheating. I was having an emotional affair with my favorite ex. That's almost facetious. It's both facetious and true at the same time. It's weird. And then after that, my favorite ex kind of, she decided that she was going to stay with her boyfriend instead of being with me, like she said so earnestly that she wanted to be. And so my relationship was completely destroyed by that point. I had sabotaged it out the ass, and there was no real coming back, and I kind of made her break up with me. Then once my favorite ex broke up with her boyfriend, she contacted me saying she wanted to try again. That also didn't work out because I was like paranoid the whole time. I was like, she's gonna leave me any fucking second. I can fucking feel it, like all the times before. So that didn't work out. And that's when I went into treatment. Well, right before that. It was because like I first went into treatment because I wanted to show that girl that, oh look, I'm changing, I'm trying to work on myself for you, which did come from a genuine place, right? But it wasn't. There was like a little bit of a almost manipulative factor to it in terms of giving her that proof. But I also intended to follow through with it, right? It was instrumental, but it was still genuine. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Can something be instrumental and genuine? I'm not sure. But then after that ended, it was like my third therapy session that ended, and I stayed in because I was like, again, the mantra of my life. Why the fuck did I do that? To this day, there's so many times that because of the self-deception and in this disorder that I do something and I know that I'm doing it. I know what my goals are per se, but I don't know why. It's hard to explain fully. Like there's a lot of calculations and a lot of purposefulness, but my reasons for doing it, I can never quite pin down. I'm just kind of doing it, acting on instinct almost. And I'll have like these fights in my head where I'm like, you shouldn't do this. Why are you doing this? And it's like my NPD brain will like override it and just be, and like I'm like telling myself, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. And then I just do. And it's so bizarre. And then like even when I'm having that inner dialogue in my head saying, no, you're not going to do that, like there's a part of me that also knows, no, you're still going to do it. But I'm like, no, I really shouldn't do it. I don't want to do that. It's like, but you should, you need to. And it's like a debate between my rational and NPD brain. Kind of kidding. It's exhausting sometimes just because it's like, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Why the fuck did I do it? Why? But I feel like that was like honestly a hindrance in my treatment. Is that because for the first 2 years I was lying. I'll get to how that ended in a bit, but I was refusing to engage with her in anything other than basically my mask and how I knew I was supposed to act around people. So I was never saying anything genuine about how I felt. Just I was basically just saying what was the right thing to say. Because all these things I can talk about, and I can know that objectively this isn't a true thing. But when I'm not bringing those things up in therapy, I mean, is that even helpful at all? So I went, 2 years live to that therapist. So anybody who thinks that they can spot a narcissist right away, I guarantee you can. I did have an advantage because I was kind of aware of it in the back of my head, and it was more of I knew that those behaviors were undesirable, so I didn't overtly show my grandiosity and envy and stuff. But at the same time, if you're smart and you have NPD, you're going to figure out pretty quick that, like, to get the admiration you want, you're not supposed to be all such a braggart about it. And then the only reason that she ever even found out at all, because she was like picking up on things, and she says that she knew that like something was off, quote unquote, but she couldn't really tell what. Because I was like, playing games and stuff. I kind of enjoyed frustrating her sometimes. And she says that other people can kind of tell, and I still don't believe that. I really don't. I really think everyone basically falls for my shit. I mean, all my friends did. They were even after I told them what it actually was, they were like, no, that doesn't sound right. Maybe you're bipolar. Maybe you have depression. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm glad I was vulnerable with you, and then you just completely invalidated what I was experiencing. Awesome. That was sarcastic, by the way. But so after that 2-year period, there was this day that I was like complaining that some people just didn't like understand me, basically, right? And as we're like discussing it, like I was coming at it from a very rational mind, but I was just kind of complaining. I was like, they haven't really been through a lot of stuff I have, and like it's not their fault because I know, blah blah blah. But then like I slipped up and I was like just completely on instinct. I just laughed and I said, but I mean, it makes sense. They're also fucking stupid. And she was like, wait, what? And I was like, well, I mean, come on, compared to me at least. And I went on this whole grandiose tirade. And by the end of it, I was like, I stood up to leave because I was like, end of the session. And I was like, fuck, that felt good to finally say. Holy shit, I've been stuffing that in for years. And she was like, oh, I'm humbled. And I was like, are you fucking mocking me? Oh man, that was rough. But that's when I started being honest in therapy and consistently going back, because I realized, whoa, it felt really nice to be earnest about like some of my grandiose thoughts and behaviors and stuff, and not have to basically hide them behind this feigned humility. And like, oh man, it was just it was a very eye-opening experience. And then eventually, even when she ended up diagnosing me, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I wasn't like, oh no, I'm a narcissist. No, I was like, tracks. Again, how would you guys react to that? I am very curious because I never had even anything remotely, like even like I read some case studies and like people will get diagnosed and they'll be like, yeah, I kind of suspected it. And it's just like this indifference. I'm like, that makes sense. Why would it? I mean, they've been living with it for this long. It doesn't change anything, and it's nice to know. I don't know. I really don't understand like having like this distress about it. If like, other than when you eventually recognize like, oh man, this makes my life fucking suck. I wish I didn't have this. But even then, it's not like, oh man, my life is over because I'm a narcissist. Does that make sense? I'm not sure. Anyways, though, hope this video was insightful. If you like it, please like, comment, and subscribe, and catch you all on the flip side. I'm never saying that again. Why did I say that? Take your fucking meds.